Hi there. My name is Beth Green, otherwise known as Granny Rocks, and welcome to Lighting the Way with Beth Green and Friends. You will be meeting the friends very shortly, but in the meantime, I want to tell you that the show tonight is called, you probably saw the banner already, and I'm turning it on. Who is telling us what we need, and are we falling for it? So I'm really excited to talk to you about this. There is so much content that I could talk about that I don't really know what all I'm going to be able to cover in a reasonable time for tonight and still allow my panel to come on and say something. But I've been thinking about needs a lot because we're talking about the why not revolution, which is based on us acknowledging our needs and the needs of other people and forming a society and co-creating a society and an economy that is based on meeting the needs of people and the earth. So that, of course, leads to the question of, well, what do we need? And I've been suggesting that people talk to each other and think about it themselves. What do you need? And so what I thought I might talk about now is why it is so difficult to know what we need. And one reason, major reason, is that we live in a culture where we are being told all the time what we need. We used to make jokes about Madison Avenue. I don't know if people use that expression anymore, but it referred to the advertising industry. And Madison Avenue would tell you what you needed. Oh, you needed this kind of wardrobe and those kind of shoes and that kind of a car and this kind of a house and so on and so on. It was like all, and you'd get advertised to, and there would be some image that was theoretically desirable that you were supposed to live up to by buying that thing. And people actually thought they needed it. I mean, the joke is you had a teenage daughter, for example, who said, "Oh, mom, I have to have these jeans with this, name brand jeans, right?" And it really wasn't any different from the other genes. And she just had to have it or she would die. And where did that come from? And that came from a combination of advertising and then other people adopting that and feeling all that pressure. And corporations and our culture create a sense of what we need, and we don't even realize it. And our parents can be part of that as well. You need to get a good job. Have you ever heard that? What is a good job? What is a good job? A good job is a job that pays a certain salary, or you can raise children on, or that's going to, if you're a man, that's going to attract a woman, or a woman that you can live alone. That is a good job. Now, maybe what you need is a job that fulfills you and that allows you to fulfill your potential. But that's not typically what is meant when you say you need to get a good job, especially the parent is telling the child, oh, you need a good education. Well, what is a good education? Is it an education where you have a certain name or you went to Harvard Law? Or is it an education where you are taught how to think? Not too many people are thinking about a good education that way. They're thinking about it in terms of the money they're going to make when it's all done. And um, you need to fix your hair, right? Oh, yes, I used to. Oh, you need to fix your hair. I don't know if you had ever gotten that kind of a thing. I said, yeah, I needed to fix my. Well, I did not fix my hair, and I haven't fixed my hair. I'm almost 80 years old, and I don't intend to start fixing my hair now. This is the hair that I was born with. And do you need a nose job? I remember being asked that when I was, 16 years old, and I said, no, I don't need a nose job in order to look like what the prevailing image of a woman was. And you need to wear high heels because they make your legs look better, not whether my body needs to wear high heels. So there it is. I mean, it's one thing after another, after another, after another. that we need. And then we need a strong leader like fill in the blank, somebody who's going to tell us what to do. Maybe we need a leader who's going to help us to think through our problems. No, but we're told that we need this in a leader, or we need that in a leader. We need to join a group in order to get more power. We need to marry well. Do I need to go on? And you see, what is so insidious is that we don't notice how many of the things we need are based on a set of values that works well with the capitalist system that we live in. We need to spend money so the people who own practically everything can make money. That's what we need. And we need a house that looks like this or of a certain size, or in order to keep the economy going. We have to keep the economy going, don't we? Right? Isn't that the biggest need? We need to make profits. And if you get a job, you need to get ahead. It's not enough to get the job. You need to get ahead, which means you need to take on more stress, more responsibility, and more of the values of the people who are hiring you. You need to please people. I need to please my listeners. That's a need, right? No, I don't need to please my listeners. You can all hang up on me and I'll still be me. Fortunately, I don't make my living doing this, as some people do. And I don't have a bunch of commercials, or any commercials actually, on anything that I do. Because I don't have to make my money that way. Thank God. I have a small business, which is made up of me. And it's a small counseling business. And you could say that I need to please my clients, but I don't even need to do that. I need to have integrity. I need to feel faith in the work that I do. I need to be willing to piss people off if they need to hear the truth and they don't like it. My needs are not based on money, and neither are yours. But we are trapped in a system where we have to make money in order to survive. And somehow or other, it all begins to work together as we need to do certain things in order to feed the beast of this never-ending need to sell us something. And our religions are no better. How many of our religions are telling us we need to be subservient to men, we women, or we need to trust God, even if we don't, or we need to be meek, or we need to be obedient, or we need to follow certain rules that will define whether or not we are righteous people. And so we live in a culture, in a system that has a certain ethic. You need to, if you're going to run for office, you need to get votes. And how are you going to get votes? Well, you need to get people to sponsor you, give you money. You're going to need people to vote for you. So you have to be careful about what you say. It's like, I can feel myself shrinking as I talk about this, as we are less and less able to even for a moment wake up in the morning and say, what do I need? Oh, I think I need to exercise. No, you need to get into the office right now because they've decided that everybody has to be in the office at 9:00. It doesn't matter what you need. It matters what you have to do in order to survive in this system. Now, There's a lot more that I have to say about this, and I just want to very, very quickly talk about something. Why are we so dominated by what society tells us we need? Why is it so difficult for us to connect to what we need? Well, because hardly anybody ever asks us. We aren't trained to think about it. We're trained to think about how we're going to fit in and meet the needs of the company that hired us, the family, the parents who want us to make them proud, the friends who want us to join them. And we are weak. We're vulnerable. We are influenced by the values of others because we need companionship and friendship. And so we think we need to be popular, but we don't even need that. But you see, it's the culture that we've got, are you a popular girl? Are you the whatever is the head of the football team? Or are you a nerd? We get categorized. We're not really trained to think about our needs. We're influenced by the values of others, partly because that's what we hear all the time, and partly because we need companionship. Um, Another reason it's very hard for us to get in touch with our needs is that we feel undeserving. Oh, I don't need anything. It's okay. It's okay. I remember my grandma, God bless her. She would You would be pouring her some tea or giving her something to eat, and she would go like this, and she would say "Genug, genug, genug," which in Yiddish meant enough. And she was eyeing you to make sure that you gave her more, but she had to say it's enough because she came from a culture of deep poverty, and she didn't want to look selfish. And we don't feel deserving, especially when we see how other people are suffering. It is very hard for us to say, well, I really need this when I actually do need it, because we feel guilty about the suffering of others. We don't know what we need because we don't know what our real potential is, and we don't know what we need in order to fulfill it because we've been on a track. It's so hard to get off the track when we start school. You need to get good grades. I'm not saying that there aren't some people who break out of this, but mostly that is where we are. There's a Kenneth who just said hi to everyone. Hi, Kenneth. He's on YouTube. So, what do we need to achieve it? We don't know. We don't know what our potential is. We're on a track. We don't know what we need because many of us are extremely unrealistic about our physical, mental, and emotional capacities because we want to succeed or because we want to be big, or we may feel the need to fail because we want to make other people happy. So, maybe we need to succeed, maybe we need to fail, but we're not always realistic about what we can do. So, oh, yes, in order to finish the quarter at 4 million, we need to do such and such. Well, maybe our company doesn't have the capacity to do that, but we don't care because we have some goal that somebody has set that we're supposed to fulfill. Sometimes we can't connect to what we need because we've been so discouraged by past relationships. Like, I need love. Well, I know I'm never going to get love, so I'm going to go for security. I've heard that so many times. I'm a counselor. I know what people do. I know so many people have checklists, what the man or the woman or the other that they're looking for is going to have. And we may have been discouraged that we'll ever get love. So we don't even look for it because we're just looking for a way to get by. Sometimes we don't know what we need because others are jealous and they don't want us to have what we need because they don't want us to succeed. It's a horrible thing, but we can pick up on those feelings and we feel bad and we need their love and we need their support and we don't even realize it, but unconsciously we are not in fact going after what we need because we don't want to succeed, and that there'll be jealousy. We live in a culture that doesn't support people getting what we need, so it's like a foreign idea. You know, Our society is like this. I think most societies have been like this. I'd like to think that there are some that are not. And it's an old paradigm that everything runs on money and that's what it is. And you can't fight Sitting Hall, right? And it's very hard to break a paradigm that's been around a long time and that everybody around us seems to believe. But see, what we're trying to do in the Why Not movement is to say we need a society that is based on fulfilling the needs of people and the earth. And people look at you like, well, where did you come from? Another planet? No, I didn't come from another planet. I'm from this planet. And I know that this is what we need, and so do you. And now I'm going to bring on our guest, Amy. Hi there, Amy. James, Lizzie, and Tom. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Before we go on with our discussion tonight, I'd like to say that one of our panelists last time was misinformed and said that 50%, that it's a law that 50% of the people in the European Union, of the corporations, have to have. Can I start again? That there's a rule in the European Union that 50% of the board has to be made up of workers. That is not true. That seems to be true of Germany, but not of others. Some of them is 20% or 30%, uh, but it's definitely not across the board. So thank you for bringing that up, and thanks for the people who brought that to my attention that that is incorrect. So anyway, we try to be as honest as we can, don't we? Okay, so who is ready to make a comment? James.
Well, I feel that I've been a poster child for what you're talking about. I was told work hard and make good grades, so I did. And then go to a good university, and I did. And now study something that you can get a good job at, and I did. It was accounting. Oh, and now go to law school so you can make more money. And so I went to law school. And then along the way, I began to realize, wait a minute, this isn't really fitting me very well. And so then I started joining some different social welfare kind of programs to help those people in need. One of them was the Office of Economic Opportunity, which only lasted until the next conservative Republican president, and it got abolished. And then later on, I got a job in the Comprehensive Employment and Training Act to help poor people get training to get jobs, and that got abolished too. And then I got a job working for affirmative action, and we know what happened to that. That got abolished too. So, so the forces that be basically overwhelmed these things and restored more of a balance of keep the people down where they are and don't give them too much. And I've been reading somewhat about what's been going on lately compared to the history. Back in the 20s, we had this humongous gap between the rich and the poor. And then we had the New Deal and we had Great Society programs, and there were lots of things to help try to raise people up and have a better life. Well, now we're right back to the same kind of gap we had back in the late 20s, where the ultra rich, the super rich, have a humongous gap between them and the income of other people, wealth of and the other people. And so uh, something's got to change. And I love it that you're launching this why not movement because this has got to change. People aren't getting their needs met. People are simply plugging in, and then the way the winds shift and change depend on what those in power decide what's going to happen, and including how well off you're going to be or how fulfilled you're going to be, which is mostly denied.
Absolutely true. I mean, they're talking about cutting Medicaid and cutting food SNAP programs and lowering the taxes again for the rich because they just don't have enough. Let's just face it, they don't have enough. And cutting anything that has anything to do with climate change, which impacts all of us. So I agree with you, James. And what is so frightening about this is that every time we go to work and we produce. Now, I'm not talking about a small business. I'm talking about big business, which just eating up all the small businesses as much as possible. I mean, there are so many monopolies now, like in whether it's the food business or healthcare or whatever. And so what they're doing is when we go to work for them, we produce the profit that they then take to buy up everything, to influence the media. I mean, so little of the media is really honest and telling the truth, and they buy everything. And so here we are, and we're just bombarded with these messages, and it's really hard to find our way through. So thank you for sharing, Amy.
Well, I know I'm tired a lot. And part of it is I was listening to somebody speaking about how somewhere we got the idea that every year we're supposed to be better than we were the year before. We're supposed to progress and have something to show for the time that's passed, do more of, faster,
Yeah,
whatever it is. And I play the harp. And I realized that I'm not really interested in getting a gazillion gigs because that means carrying my harp all over the place. And I'm not the age I was when I started. So my knee hurts, or I get tired working on reports that I think have to be airtight instead of no, they just have to be sufficient. If someone has more has more questions, then I can answer it. But I know I do things in a defensive way so that I don't miss anything. You have to do the best possible job. And I sometimes, can be, I'm do that to myself by making my work more time consuming than maybe it has to be. And I'm proud of the fact when clients tell me that other docs or people who come to see them don't do as thorough an exam. So
right.
I'm like, yeah, well, I'm really hot stuff then, but it's also wearing me out. And so somewhere I had gotten this idea that you have to be bigger, better, faster, rather than sufficient. And what about like she said, what about if you just did nothing all day? Wouldn't that count for something? And I thought, well, I'm not used to thinking that way. Rather, well, that's a waste. She said, just waste the day. Why not once in a while? Who said that's not what you need at any given point? And what's wasting anyway? It could be something social or something that's not something that will show up on a ledger,
Right,
but
and about
relationship.
somebody's bottom line.
Right, but rather relationships or something that lifts somebody else up because you raise their mood because you visited with them.
Absolutely. You know what you're saying is so valid because we need a shorter work week. People work too many hours. They don't have enough time to exercise, to make good food for themselves, to socialize, to care for their children, to care for themselves, to care for one another, to make love, to go to the park, to grow your food.
Yeah, it's like if you're busy, that's a mark of honor, a badge of honor. If people say they're crazy busy, and I remember hearing somebody say, "Crazy, that makes sense. You are crazy busy. What are you doing? What
Yeah,
is it
that's very,
for? Do we
yeah,
even stop and think about what we're doing is for?"
yeah. Well, we're not given the opportunity because this is what we are told we have to do, and there's
Right, which if
nothing
you're tired
value.
enough, you don't think much beyond it or
Yeah,
do much beyond it.
that's right. Yeah, thank you. Who would like to share next? Todd.
Yeah. Well, I think this is a really important conversation. And I've been looking at my own life and like, how did I get this way? And you're right. I bought it. I felt insecure in my family. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
feel supported. And
Mm-hmm.
so I became a person that wanted to fit in, that wanted to make everyone happy and please everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So, in a way that does serve a need, but it's not the whole picture. It's not my whole self. So I basically like disowned a part of myself that was the part, the aspect of looking out and seeing what do I have to bring that's beyond just a need. And so that's why I think this is so important of a conversation, because I think there's a huge lack of fulfillment in a big hole in a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And because those core needs of love, connection aren't being met, and we're desperately trying to meet them in ways that will never fulfill them.
Yeah.
Mm.
And the need for creativity.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Where people have been automated, and only in certain arenas are people allowed to be creative. And you know what's so horrifying is that this goes all the way down into science. And I know that you're a doctor, Amy. You discover how many of these scientific trials about medication are supported by the drug companies and are skewed, and that there are paradigms where if you're not going to sell something at the end, who cares? Who's Nobody is going to give you the money to do the large scale, what do they call that, trial, in order to see if eating green beans every day is going to help you. Unless there's a huge green bean lobby that's going to be funding this, it's not going to happen. And what does get funded is medication. And people are told they need medication. They need this medication. They need that medication. And 10 years later, you say, oh, yeah, oops, that medication actually ruins your liver. But no, we have another medication that's going to just ruin your spleen or your gallbladder or your brain. So, we don't ask the question, do we need this? Everything is really imposed on us, and it's part of a system, and it's grinding us to the ground. And people are afraid to be creative because they may come up with something that nobody wants. And if nobody wants it, nobody's going to pay them. And there's no basic income. There's nothing in the society to keep you going if nobody wants what you've done, even if what you've done 100 years later will be discovered to be the greatest thing that ever happened, right? But this is what it is. The whole, I'm a musician, and it's half of the things you read about is how musicians can make money, how musicians can't make money, how to make money in music, how Spotify is ripping you off, how did you make, and it's like very little is about music and being creative and being willing to do something that nobody wants, you see, but because you believe in it. And how many things does it take a lot of time to develop in order to have value?
And if drug companies are profit motivated, as they are profit motivated, they will do all these Me Too drugs. So drug A does something, becomes very popular, then all kinds of other companies just tweak it here, there, or another
Right.
place, and they are another version of the same medication.
Right.
They're not going outside the box.
That's right.
And they're the so-called orphan diseases that very few people have, and because very few people have them, there's no money or interest
Right.
in doing research for those conditions.
Or the cures don't involve medication.
That too.
And then who's going to pay for that? So, Lizzie, would you like to share? Thank you, Amy.
Welcome.
Are you on mute? Let's see. Well, on here you're showing that your audio is on. So, nothing. Okay. Well, would someone else like to share something while Lizzie is trying to figure out what's going on with hers? Because we'd love to hear what you
I
have.
remember growing up, I loved to do all kinds of things and travel and things. And at one point, my parents said, when are you going to stop doing things just for the experience and
Right.
actually go do something that will result in a job,
Right.
a career?
Exactly.
And I thought that was loud and clear. You don't do things just simply for the purpose of learning or sharing, or who knows what. If more people knew things about other people's cultures, what a different world it might be if more people would travel.
That's right.
If they could afford to.
That's right. And that's a very good point, because what is the purpose of our lives is to develop and evolve. And we don't have that concept either. Lizzie, how are you doing there? Nothing. Darn. Okay. Let me see. Well, let me see if there's anything else that I feel the need to say while we're still hoping and praying that Lizzie's microphone works. Um, oh, yes, I'd like to ask you guys on YouTube to give us a thumbs up and to subscribe to our channel and click the notification button so that you may theoretically be notified when we're online. And um, on uh, on Facebook, please give us a like or a love. And please share this program wherever you are, whatever you're on. And by the way, I really don't know what to do about Facebook because we have a lot of followers on Facebook and I'm really upset about what's happening with Facebook, but I feel conflicted because I don't want to leave the followers that we have, and so I'm sticking with it. So please share this program and please give it likes and loves and tell people about Lighting the Way. And don't forget to take a look at if you've missed some of our programs, go back and see why we're doing the why not uh, movement. I believe that we are going to be able to develop a movement because everybody knows that they're miserable. We don't have enough mental health and well being and emotional well being. And we can't actually solve all these problems by throwing money at them either. We need to rethink the way we organize society so people feel nurtured. So it looks like Lizzie has called in some help, but nothing has helped so far. Well, Lizzie, next time, don't forget what you're going to say, and maybe you'll be with us next time. So I think that wraps up our show for tonight. Thank you so much for coming to Lighting the Way. And please tell everybody you know about this program if you think we have any value, because I keep listening to all kinds of podcasts and discussions, and I don't hear people talking about this. So uh, it would be really great if more people started to think about this because we need revolution, guys. We don't need to just kick these bums out or those bums out. We need a whole new way of thinking and being and relating to one another, like bring kindness into the world and nurturing and all of that good stuff, right? That we all basically need. And tomorrow night, which is Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific time, James and I do an all music program called Magical Improvs with the Kindred Spirits Band, and I play the piano and James sings. So you're invited to come to that too. So anyway, thank you. God bless. Leave comments after the show, and I will answer you as when I see those comments. So in the meantime, thank you so much for joining us again.
Thank you.
Bye bye.